Welcome to part 32 of the Ultimate Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg. Let's get to the cases. The disappearance of Jim Donnelly. On June 21st, 2004, Jim Donnelly, a 43-year-old scientist and father of two from East Auckland, New Zealand, vanished without a trace. His disappearance has prompted extensive investigations, numerous theories, and a lingering cloud of mystery over the Glenbrook steel mill where he was last seen. Jim Donnelly's day started ordinarily as he left for work at the steel mill, where he had been employed for nearly 2 decades. Jim never attended the shift handover meeting he was due at, and no subsequent activity was recorded on his computer. Notably, a muffin was found on his desk, as was his routine, all but confirming Jim had at least visited his desk. The initial search was extensive, covering the mill grounds, nearby paddocks, beaches, waterways, and bushland. Despite these apparently exhaustive efforts, no substantial clues were uncovered immediately. 5 days after his disappearance, a potentially significant discovery was made at the mill. Jim's hard hat, along with his work ID card, Palm Pilot, safety glasses, credit card, cash, and a work key, were found beside an acid vat. Notably, the vat's acid was not strong enough to cause complete destruction, but his house keys were missing, and no remains were found. One of the most troubling aspects of this case was the unidentified car observed in the mill parking lot the night Jim disappeared. It mysteriously drove away when its driver noticed the police presence. This detail has fueled speculation about potential foul play or a staged disappearance, as it suggested an interrupted attempt to move Jim's car. Investigators have pursued multiple lines of inquiry, including the possibilities of an accident, foul play, or a breakdown that might have led him to leave undetected. However, no theory has conclusively explained his disappearance, and each avenue has led to more questions than answers. Jim's behavior prior to his disappearance, including a mysterious Saturday meeting that required him to rent a suit, has added layers of complexity to understanding his state of mind at that time. No answers have ever been forthcoming as to why he required a suit for this meeting, or who he was meeting with. Jim's family, particularly his wife Tracy, has been vocal about their belief that the answers to Jim's disappearance lie within the mill. Despite their pleas and the ongoing mystery, no new evidence has surfaced from the site to provide closure or clarity. The mill management has consistently maintained that Jim left the site on his own, a claim that conflicts with the family's belief and the odd circumstances of the case. Theories continue to circulate, ranging from accidental ending to more sinister possibilities, but without further evidence, the truth remains elusive. Also, in perhaps the most vague statement I've ever read in relation to a disappearance case, in 2005, the lead investigator posited 4 potential things which may have happened to Jim. An accident, ending at his own hand, ending at the hands of another, or a staged disappearance. I can't think of any other reasonably plausible outcome to a missing persons case. If you have any information or evidence in relation to the disappearance of Jim Donnelly, please contact the New Zealand police. Also, big shout out to patron and Discord member Monoxide Wendigo for this one. Another great suggestion, as per usual. The Cactus Cat. The cactus cat, a creature steeped in the folklore of the American Southwest, is a feline-like beast adorned with spiny fur and a branching, thorn-covered tail. The creature is said to be nocturnal, basking in the desert moonlight. Sightings of this cryptid have been largely limited to California, Nevada, New Mexico, and Arizona. This cryptid is said to slash open cacti to drink the fermented juice that accumulates within. Historically, the cactus cat is described as slightly larger than a domestic cat, but shares many physical traits with wild cats. Its body is said to be covered in spines or quills that provide camouflage among the desert cacti, enhancing its survival in the rugged, arid environment. The creature is often depicted with glowing eyes and a muscular build, capable of swift, agile movements that befit its elusive reputation. The cactus cat likely originated from early settlers' encounters with native wildlife, or as a tale to embellish the unknown desert landscape. Its vivid descriptions may have been inspired by actual sightings of bobcats or similar creatures with unusual appearances due to disease or mutations. I note that unlike other old-timey cryptids from the United States, the cactus cat appears not to have been influenced by any local Native American lore. In the alternative, some have suggested that the cactus cat is a wild cat that has been stuck with cactus needles, giving it the appearance of a different species. Others have speculated that this cryptid may be a form of the chupacabra, or even an alien due to its bizarre features and behaviors. Similar to the chupacabra, which is said to attack livestock and drink their essence, the cactus cat's habit of slashing open and consuming cactus juice could suggest a chupacabra variant. If this is the case, then let me be the first person to rename the cactus cat the Chupacactus. Spring-heeled Jack. Spring-heeled Jack is a figure from Victorian folklore known for his terrifying appearance and extraordinary physical abilities. The legend began with sightings in 1837 in London, and over the years, the stories of Spring-heeled Jack morphed into a national phenomenon with reports of sightings across Great Britain. The initial reports described Spring-heeled Jack as a ghostly figure who would attack individuals unexpectedly, with the most notable early accounts involving assaults on women. In October 1837, Spring-heeled Jack made his first reported attack on Mary Stevens, a servant in London. While walking to Lavender Hill where she worked, Jack leapt at her, acted indecently towards her, and began tearing at her with his claws. Mary's screams alarmed this apparent creature, causing him to flee in a leaping motion. Notably, this case, unlike the subsequent incidents, was not widely reported at the time. In one famous incident, a young woman named Jane Alsop reported that a cloaked figure came to her door late at night, claiming to be a police officer or government official. The figure mentioned that Spring-heeled Jack was in the area, only to remove his cloak and breathe blue and white flames in her face and tear at her clothes with his claws. This creature then quickly jumped away before anyone could come to Jane's assistance. On February 28, 1838, shortly after the Alsop incident, 18-year-old Lucy Scales and her sister were on their way home from visiting their brother. During her police interview, Lucy Scales recounted that while passing through Green Dragon Alley, they encountered a cloaked figure lurking in a corner. As Lucy approached, the figure expelled blue flame towards her face, blinding and terrifying her to the extent that she collapsed, suffering from violent fits for hours. Her brother, upon hearing screams, rushed to the alley and found Lucy on the ground, with her sister trying to assist her. They described the assailant as a tall, slender man, draped in a large cloak, holding a lantern. The attacker fled without further interaction. Despite thorough investigations and numerous interrogations, the police failed to identify or apprehend the culprit. Similar attacks, characterized by a figure who could emit flames and possessed metallic claws, continued to be reported throughout the 19th century. However, reports died down substantially. The last recorded Spring-heeled Jack incident is thought to have occurred in Liverpool in 1904. Theories about the true nature of Spring-heeled Jack varied widely. Some believed he was a man or a group of men using the disguise to terrify others, possibly as a form of social rebellion, as a way to harass women, or simply a macabre prank. This was supported by the suggestion that the Marquis of Waterford, known for his wild antics, might have been one of the people behind the early appearances. However, other explanations lean towards the supernatural, with suggestions that he could be a malevolent spirit or minion of the devil. Modern theories propose that he could be an extraterrestrial being due to his unnatural abilities and characteristics, though this theory was completely unknown contemporaneously. Another modern science-based theory is that Spring-Heeled Jack was a form of mass hysteria. This occurred during a period marked by profound social change, including mass urbanization and industrialization. Individuals were on edge. Many people had left behind the comfort of rural life, where individuals had dwelled together with the same families for literal centuries. They left behind lives where everyone knew everyone, for lives where virtually everyone was a complete and total stranger. And it's not just that everyone knew everyone in the countryside, but that everyone knew everyone going back generation upon generation. As such, according to the mass hysteria theory, reports of the initial incidents were likely to fuel this collective unease and lead to mass panic amongst a populace primed for anxiety. Further, Spring-Heeled Jack's extraordinary abilities, like leaping great heights and breathing fire, bear the hallmarks of urban legend rather than genuine phenomena. However, the fact was that credible and reliable people had interactions with this supposed entity, and that cannot be dismissed. As sightings spread, they were amplified by sensationalist media of the time, which thrived on the public's fear of the unknown and the unexplained. While the true nature of this creature will never be known, given the terror he invoked, it's no surprise that the legend of Spring-Heeled Jack has persisted long after his sightings have stopped. He became a staple character in Victorian folklore, and has seen a great resurgence in interest all around the world in the early 21st century. As given how popular Spring-Heeled Jack has become, it wouldn't surprise me if genuine sightings of the creature begin again at some point. Jimmy here, the YouTuber behind the Lazy Chill Zone channel. If you're enjoying my content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and the notification bell. Also, consider signing up for a YouTube membership or joining the Patreon. Your support allows me to focus all my efforts on content creation. Also, remember to join the Discord community. We're nearing 80 members now, and the community is super active. Click the link in the description. The Chronovisor. The Chronovisor is an alleged time-viewing device, reportedly developed by Father Pellegrino Ernetti, an Italian priest and exorcist, during the mid-20th century. According to Ernetti, this device enabled users to view and hear events from the past, like a television tuning into events throughout history. The most sensational of these claims includes observations of Jesus Christ's end and other biblical events. Other notable historical figures and events, such as speeches by Roman Senator Cicero and the end of Julius Caesar, were also noted to be viewable. Ernetti's descriptions suggest that the Chronovisor worked through the use of specialized antennae made from mysterious metals, capable of capturing sound and light waves across the spectrum. This technology supposedly allowed it to record and project past events onto a screen, making it less of a time travel device and more of a viewer into history. Despite the intriguing nature of Ernetti's claims, they have been met with significant skepticism and controversy. Critics have pointed out that no concrete evidence of the device's existence has ever been presented. The key piece of supposed evidence, a photograph depicting Jesus, was later arguably debunked as a manipulated image for resembling a sculpture. I've attached the image of Jesus in his final days, reportedly taken through the Chronovisor, and this is one you likely want to see if you're just listening. The debate over the Chronovisor's existence is further complicated by the Vatican's secretive stance on the matter. While the Church has not confirmed the existence of such a device, a Vatican decree from 1988 threatening excommunication for its use. This has fueled speculation about its possible reality and potential misuse. However, skeptics noted that the decree may also have been issued to prevent deterioration of church doctrine. In his later years, amidst growing skepticism, Ernetti allegedly recanted his claims, stating that the stories about the Chronovisor were fabricated. His confession, however, is disputed, and some believe it was coerced by the Church, or factions within the Church, that wanted to suppress this wondrous technology. The true nature and existence of the Chronovisor remain shrouded in mystery, continuing to provoke both curiosity and skepticism. The coronal heating problem. The coronal heating problem is a long-standing challenge in solar physics, involving the question of why the sun's corona, the outer atmosphere, is significantly hotter than its surface. The sun's surface, or photosphere, is about 5,800 Kelvin, whereas the corona can reach temperatures in excess of 1 million Kelvin. This defies the general laws of physics that would typically prevent heat from moving from a cooler to a hotter area. This phenomenon was first noted when scientists observed spectral lines from highly ionized iron and calcium atoms during solar observations. These observations revealed that the corona was much hotter than the photosphere, prompting questions about the mechanisms that could transport and convert solar energy into the extreme heat. The main challenge of the coronal heating problem lies in explaining how this energy transfer occurs. Theories predominantly focus on non-thermal processes, since conventional thermal conduction would violate the second law of thermodynamics. These include wave heating and magnetic reconnection, particularly through events called nanoflares. These are tiny, intense flares thought to occur due to magnetic reconnection, which is the process where magnetic field lines from different magnetic domains collide and realign, releasing energy. Magnetic reconnection is supported by the observation of ultra-hot regions in the corona that suggest localized explosive heating events. Or to paraphrase the insane clown posse, magnetism, how does it work? Recent advances include the use of high-resolution imaging from instruments like NASA's High-Resolution Coronal Imager. These images have captured the dynamic, finely structured nature of the corona, hopefully providing further insight into its nature. The question of how exactly the sun's corona remains so much hotter than its surface continues to be a fundamental issue in astrophysics, driving ongoing research and debate within the scientific community. Akashi Takenori. This entry was a suggestion by community member Minimax. Big shout out for this great Japanese mystery. Also, quick aside, this mystery appears to be very prominent in Japanese sources, but doesn't appear to have ever been meaningfully covered in English language sources. Akashi Takenori was a prominent Christian daimyo during the transitional period from the Azuchi Momoyama to the early Edo period in Japan. A direct retainer of the Ukita clan, the major daimyo of Bizen province, Akashi played a significant role under Ukita leadership in support of the Toyotomi clan's cause. Akashi's military prowess was notably demonstrated during the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600, where he fought valiantly against the forces of Tokugawa Ieyasu and Fukushima Masanori. However, unfortunately for Akashi, he was but one man of the largest and most significant battles of the pre-modern world. Notably, due to his Christian faith, he was unable to partake in ritual annihilation by his own sword, and as such, when it was clear the battle was lost, he fought extremely recklessly, but lived. This act won him extreme respect from both his friends and his foes, which will play a part in the mystery surrounding him. This battle was a decisive conflict that solidified Tokugawa Ieyasu's power and led to the establishment of the Tokugawa shogunate. The aftermath of the battle was devastating for the Ukita clan, having been on the losing end of this battle. Despite this loss, Akashi was allowed to retire to his estate in modern Fukuoka Prefecture, where he was expected to live out his life in quiet obscurity. Despite his samurai status, Akashi was also an extremely fervent Christian, a faith that was not uncommon amongst the elite in Western Japan for a brief period. Christianity had been introduced to Japan by the Portuguese in the mid-16th century, with the faith scoring significant conversions of powerful feudal lords. These apparently heartfelt conversions of these local lords led to mass conversions of local populations. And as with any mass conversion event, enthusiasm varied significantly. But back to the tale of Akashi Takenori, he would play yet another historically significant role at another one of the most important events in Japanese history. Akashi re-emerged during the siege of Osaka in the years 1614 and 1615, where he fought alongside the Toyotomi clan defenders against Tokugawa's forces. Akashi was noted by both sides to be a key strategist during this siege, and given that he had twice proved a thorn in the Tokugawa forces, the Tokugawa shogunate sought to end him. Following the fall of Osaka Castle, Akashi vanished, with no records confirming his capture or slaying. He was hunted by Tokugawa forces for a number of years following the siege, with potential sightings years after. There are a number of different theories as to what may have happened to Akashi after the fall of Osaka Castle. The most obvious theory is that he perished during the fall of Osaka Castle, valiantly defending the Toyotomi clan to whom he showed such great loyalty. Another theory is that he was saved during the siege by Date Masamune, perhaps the most powerful and influential of all Tokugawa loyalists. After all, this is supported by the fact that he literally attempted to fight till his last breath during Sekigahara. Another theory turns upon a potential friend and supporter from within the Tokugawa ranks. Date Masamune was a patron of Christianity, though not a Christian himself, and Akashi Takenori was an extremely well-respected Christian daimyo. In support of this theory, Masamune, in response to the Tokugawa shogun banning Christianity, managed to send a contingent of Japanese Christians to Spain, an act that saved their lives. Given this circumstantial evidence, and given the prominence and respect afforded to Akashi, this theory seems plausible. Another theory is that he escaped to a Spanish or Portuguese-controlled area, such as the Philippines or Macau, with the help of Jesuits. However, given that the Jesuits were expelled from Japan, with all their property and records seized, it seems unlikely that this will ever be confirmed. The vanishing of Ambrose Small. The disappearance of Ambrose Small remains one of Canada's most significant mysterious disappearances. Ambrose Small, a wealthy and eccentric theater magnate known for his flamboyant personality and lavish lifestyle, vanished without a trace on December 2nd, 1919, leaving behind a massive fortune. He owned theaters in 7 Ontario cities and had financial dealings in other parts of the country as well. However, he was also involved in illegal gambling operations, in particular in relation to horse races, and he had a quite unsavory reputation. On the day of his vanishing, Small sold his chain of theaters to a business associate for a staggering sum of $1.7 million, a transaction that fueled speculation about his intentions. This sum represents well over $20 million US today. After completing the transaction, Small reportedly made several expensive purchases for his wife, Teresa Small, including a Cadillac, jewelry, and an extremely expensive coat. The last time he was seen was the following day, when he finalized the transaction at his lawyer's office. Notably, the vast fortune had not yet been transferred to Small by the time of his disappearance. If he disappeared, the entire sum of money would fall to his estate and thus his wife. Small had no apparent motive to disappear. He did not take money with him, nor was there any ransom note, let alone evidence of kidnapping. Because Small was known to disappear occasionally to spend time with the ladies, his absence was not reported, nor was it noted for several weeks. Further, in terms of his relationships with women, let's just say these interactions were extremely inappropriate. He was an early 20th century Weinstein who used his theaters for illicit purposes. As weeks turned into months, the mystery deepened, with alleged sightings of Ambrose Small reported across Canada, New York City, and even Europe. Despite an international search, no trace of him was ever found. Police suspected foul play and investigated Small's wife. Interestingly, during the initial investigation, there was strong suspicion that the lead investigator was involved in a cover-up to protect Teresa. A subsequent investigation determined that Teresa Small was likely responsible for the disappearance, and let's just say the evidence for this is quite strong. The authorities were unable to ever verify the details of the letter, and ultimately the case remains unresolved. The internal monologue. Internal monologues, the silent or subvocal conversations that some have with themselves, are a fascinating psychological phenomenon, not uniformly experienced by everyone. Various theories explain why some people consistently engage in internal monologues while others do not. Around 30 to 50% of individuals report a frequent internal monologue, suggesting that it is less common than often perceived. This discrepancy may stem from how our brains are wired differently for processing information and experiences. For some, thoughts are narrated in words, while others might visualize images or engage in less structured and more abstract forms of thinking. One theory posits that the lack of an internal monologue could be attributed to different cognitive styles. Some people may have a more visually oriented cognitive process, where they see thoughts as images or sequences, rather than hearing them as words. This mode of thinking is less about silent words and more about visual and spatial processing. The function of internal monologues can extend beyond mere thought narration. They can play a significant role in planning, reasoning, and self-regulation. For instance, having an internal monologue can help simulate conversations or rehearse actions before they happen. However, excessive internal dialogue, especially if negatively skewed, can lead to issues like anxiety or rumination, where repetitive negative thinking impacts mental well-being. In contrast, individuals without a constant internal monologue might experience the world differently, but not necessarily in a lesser way. They might find their mind to be quieter, allowing for different kinds of creativity or problem solving that do not rely on verbal thinking. The absence of a continuous inner voice might also spare them from the circular and sometimes destructive patterns of self-criticism that those with an active internal monologue can experience. The Plain of Jars. In the hills of northeastern Laos lies an extremely unusual megalithic structure known as the Plain of Jars. A megalithic structure refers to a large stone construction typically erected during prehistoric times without the use of mortar or cement. These structures often consist of earthworks accompanied by large stones or megaliths arranged in significant patterns or to form monuments. And if you're wondering if you've seen a megalithic structure before, you have. Stonehenge in southern England is perhaps the most famous example. In general, megalithic sites are believed to have been used for various ceremonial, religious, and practical purposes, including as burial sites, for marking astronomical events, and as landmarks in the landscape. Now back to the Plain of Jars. The landscape is scattered with thousands of massive stone jars, ranging in size from small vessels to towering monoliths almost 10 feet high, with some of them arranged in clusters. According to the local legend, the jars were created by a race of giants who once inhabited the region. They were said to have used the jars to brew and store rice wine for their feasts and celebrations. However, this mythological explanation fails to satisfy the curiosity of modern scholars seeking a more concrete understanding of the plane of jars. Archaeological evidence suggests that the jars were crafted between 1200 BC and 200 AD, suggesting a long tradition of producing these megaliths. The jars are speculated to have been created by a people who are the ancestors of modern-day Laotian and Vietnamese people. The majority of the jars are made from sandstone and limestone, with some weighing up to several tons. The purpose of these jars remains a subject of debate among experts, with theories ranging from funerary urns to ritual containers for the disposal of the no longer living. However, the prevailing theory posits that the plane of jars served as a burial site for an ancient civilization, with the jars used as sarcophagi to house the remains. Excavations at several jar sites have uncovered remains which support this understanding. However, the absence of inscriptions or other forms of written records makes it difficult to definitively confirm this interpretation. Another theory suggests that the jars were used for ceremonial purposes, such as offerings to the gods or as part of ritualistic ceremonies. Some jars bear intricate carvings and decorations, hinting at their significance in religious or spiritual practices. However, this could also support the funerary interpretation as well. However, the exact nature of these rituals and the beliefs of the people who created the jars remains a mystery. Also, there's another factor that limits scientific inquiry into the nature of these unusual giant jars. During the Vietnam conflict, over 200 million bombs were dropped in the region, many of which didn't work as designed. These failed bombs still litter the plain of jars, and as such, both scientific inquiry and tourism in the region are significantly hampered. On the bright side, however, removal efforts are underway, and one day, hopefully, we will have further answers as to the nature of this site. The antlion. Here's a great suggestion from community member Suddenly That Enderman. The antlion, also commonly known by its Greek name Myrmecolion, is a mythical creature and former cryptid with a rich history rooted in ancient texts and medieval bestiaries. The Greek name from which the English name comes derives from the Greek words for ant, myrmex, and lion, Leon, a fitting title for a creature depicted with the features of both an ant and a lion. Its origins trace back to an error in the translation of the Book of Job into Greek, where a rare word was used to describe a lion. Artistic and literary depictions of the antlion vary, but it is commonly portrayed with the head or upper body of a lion and the lower body of an ant. This hybrid appearance made it a subject of fascination and curiosity, with the creature often being presented as a very tragic figure. In some medieval interpretations, the antlion was considered a very literal blend of an ant and a lion, leading to a tragic existence where it could not eat properly. Under this interpretation, its lion half craved meat, while its ant half could only digest grains, ultimately causing its starvation. This version of the antlion exhibits extreme aggression and pain, and in essence simply wants to be put out of its misery. Further, this understanding is seen as an allegory for impossible conditions, or the struggle between opposing forces, embodying characteristics of both predator and prey. Further yet, the lion was and is considered amongst the most majestic of beasts, while the ant was and is generally considered the lowest, a significant contrast and duality. Notably, while the antlion is a mainstay of medieval bestiaries, with numerous sightings during this time period, the creature is no longer actively sighted. Given that the antlion is no longer sighted, or believed in, I feel comfortable applying the former cryptid label to this unfortunate beast. The 999 phone charging urban legend. Before I get into this myth, I feel the need to preface it with the classic, "Please don't try this at home" line. The 999 phone charging myth is a prevalent urban legend that misleadingly claims that calling the UK emergency number 999 and then hanging up can boost the battery power of a mobile phone. The myth suggests that during a low battery situation, dialing the number could activate some hidden mechanism within the phone to recharge it. According to this belief, this is a universal and required feature across all phones, despite there being no evidence for it. Furthermore, there are various conspiracy theories as to why this feature is said to exist, including some very benign ones, such as concern for general public safety. The myth is so widespread that police forces across the UK have repeatedly issued warnings, emphasizing that such actions can lead to unnecessary strain on emergency resources. Yeah, so I think this goes without saying. This one doesn't work, and don't do it. The IKEA Effect. The IKEA Effect is a psychological phenomenon where individuals place a higher value on products they have partly created themselves compared to those made entirely by others. This effect was first explored and named by Michael Norton, Daniel Moshon, and Dan Ariely in their seminal 2011 study. They discovered that the labor and effort invested in assembling or creating a product lead individuals to value their amateurish creations as highly as, or sometimes more than, professionally made products. This cognitive bias has significant implications across various domains, especially in marketing and product design. Companies can harness the IKEA effect by involving customers in the design, customization, or assembly of their products. This inclusion not only enhances the perceived value of the products, but also increases customer satisfaction and loyalty. For instance, products that require customer assembly, such as IKEA's furniture, often enjoy a higher valuation from customers who have put them together themselves. In terms of application, the IKEA effect influences areas like user-generated content and gamification in product design. Platforms that allow users to contribute content or customize their experience see enhanced user engagement and satisfaction. This is because users develop a deeper emotional connection and a sense of ownership over their contributions or customizations. This can be as basic as something like uploading a profile picture or having a username that the user chooses, rather than a randomly assigned name or number. At present, it is unclear why this phenomenon exists. However, it has been speculated that it mimics the human evolutionary desire to create and influence the world around us. Further, the concept applies much more generally as well. For instance, when an individual feels like they are contributing to a group effort, they will derive greater enjoyment from the results of that group effort. Check out the Patreon and the YouTube membership. With the latter, you can help for as little as 99 cents a month. Also, you made it all the way to the end, so be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't done so already. To everyone who takes the time to watch my videos, I've just got to say it again. I love you so much, and thank you for your unending support. I can't wait to have you back and explore these unsolved mysteries with you again. Shout out to my patrons, Noah Schubert, Iced Coffee, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, Jeffer Metcalf, Z-Volts, Director Delta, Unknown Delusions, and Blasphemoose. Also, just as I'm finishing up editing this, I realized I said iced coffee again, Your screen name is Iced Mocha, and I have such a mental block on that. Big shout out to YouTube member Jordan All. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Peace out, everyone.